goodness. Big move Monday. Look out. A way to end the tournament.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Quad Pod, sponsored by Poseidon Strength and Adidas Wrestling. Make sure you're using our discount codes at checkout when you visit our awesome sponsors. All that info is listed below. As always, it's great to be joined by my guys, Robbie, Austin, Kevin. I'm Holmes. We appreciate you guys joining us for episode 20. We've now got Tan and Tan, and we've got a pretty good show today. We're going to talk Vito. He put out a video about his injury. Big 10 schedule is out. The big thing about that is that Penn State's schedule is out earlier than 2 weeks before the season starts, which was weird for me. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like they could have always done this and they chose not to, obviously. But I don't know. We'll get into it. And then we'll get into some recruiting, some obvious things, some not so obvious things. And we've also got some of the next RAF matches that are going to be happening. And we're going to get back to our fun question to end the show. Shout out to Austin for giving us our really cool question, honestly. I think it was pretty well timed based on one of Austin's posts from Saturday, I believe it was. So very nicely done on the brainstorm for that. But as always, we always do our way in. And to start things off, I promised that I would say this a couple shows ago and it completely slipped my mind, but I want to backtrack at least for somebody that sent me a DM a little while back, and his name is Juan Garcia. And Juan he's a photographer in wrestling, but he was also like a photographer for us at Flow Wrestling. I always, made sure that we had passes for him at Who's Number One when it was in the Lehigh Valley. And he reached out to me about his wrestling group. It's old guys like us that don't want to give it up. So basically, Kevin of the Lehigh Valley. Because Kevin probably still has the wrestling shoes on right now, and Kevin still gets after it. As honestly, I wish I still could, but wrestling doesn't really happen here in Austin, Texas. At least not where I'm at. But he's got a wrestling club and he's got a tournament. It's called the Mat Return Open. Really, really cool thing, honestly. And just to see guys back in the Lehigh Valley that just still want to scrap or work out or learn wrestling, it's really awesome to see that. And I love that Juan has started that. And I think it's been going on for a couple of years now. I remember, I think it was when I was still living in the Lehigh Valley during those COVID times where it came out, and I had a bunch of people sending it to me like, hey, you should enter this. And I'm like, my days of competing are long gone. Those things are over. I'll never do that again. But no, shout out to him. Shout out to everybody that works with that tournament and that group. Love seeing guys still getting after it and scrapping. If you can, obviously, you don't want to break a hip or hurt yourself or anything else. I'm sure ice baths are aplenty after those practices. But shout out to those guys. Really appreciate him reaching out and everything. And hopefully him and I can continue those conversations and collab on some of the other things that he's working on as well. Robbie, on to you.
All right, this one's going to hurt you a little bit, Holmes. Big night on Friday night in Charlottesville.
I wasn't hurt. We were 0-3 at this point last year as a Florida State fan. This year we're 3-1, so I'm okay.
That's fair. So it was a great game, back and forth the whole time. Upset by UVA, but what I want to highlight is the just genuineness of Steve Garland and the fact that he is the same person on the mat, off the mat, in person, on the phone, 100% genuine guy. His post was funny. It was like, good golly, Miss Molly, what's happening? And that's just, if you know Steve at all, it's perfect. It's 100% what he would say and how he would react. And, it's kind of got me thinking of I appreciate the relationship I have with Steve. I've known him for a long time since I've been in Charlottesville, helped him get the RTC going here. And I just appreciate, kind of what he's gone through and what he's continued to build at UVA, despite a lot of hurdles being thrown their way the last few years. So just want to give a shout out to him. I was thinking about that this weekend and wanted to let him know that.
Nice. Yeah, it was a very good game, honestly. It wasn't, as a fan, I was pretty pissed off to see Florida State lose, but the game was really, really good, to be completely honest. And, gotta love some good competition. And at least this school has a wrestling team, so We're okay
Fair.
there.
And only 19 people get injured rushing the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that was pretty insane. Austin, on to you.
I'll give a quick shout out to the guys up at Army West Point Wrestling, Coach Nickerson, Coach Scott Green. Did a pretty cool collab, which I haven't seen much of, but I think it has been happening around the country. They did a partnership with KD Training. Obviously, KD Training is putting out top level athletes from Division One to world level athletes. PJ Duke just comes to mind there, and a lot of other guys that he's been training with, Jaden James as well, Penn State commit. They're having these kind of like-minded people in the room, and it's a really cool thing that they're doing there, bringing guys to Army West Point Wrestling, the West Point Wrestling Club facility, getting more guys to roll around with, more great coaches. I saw RBY was one of the clinicians there last week, so just getting guys in that Army Wrestling, general facility and everything. It's good for the program, good for everybody to get more exposure to these high level programs and high level athletes.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Good idea on those guys. Kevin, bring us home on the way-in.
Yeah, so if I look or sound like shit, it's because I feel like shit. Because I've been shitting a lot because there's been a horrible stomach bug that has run through my house. So Thursday, Miles is going to go to school, and he's like, my stomach hurts. And I was like, eat your cereal and get ready for school. And so I send him to school, and naturally he throws up in the computer lab. So that ended that day pretty quick. Friday, my daughter throws up in the middle of the night, and then all day Saturday she's sick. So now at this point, all right, well, Cortland and I have this Grappler Fall Classic we're going to go wrestle in. He's going to go wrestle, and I was going to go coach him. And we start to leave, and so we're like, well, hey, we're going to leave you kids and Elise behind. Like, we're not going to bring sick people over to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's house where we were staying. Shout out to James and Christy. So we get there, we're hanging out, we're watching the Penn State-Oregon game. Cortland goes to bed, and in the middle of the night, or like right before he goes to bed, he's like, my stomach kind of hurts. And I was like, oh, no. So naturally, that 4 a.m. or 3:45 or whatever, he's puking his guts out in the toilet. And I'm like, he's got to wrestle at 9 a.m. the next day. And I'm like, just what a kick in the dick. But anyway, he competed. He wrestled 2 matches. He went 0-2, as probably is expected in those circumstances. But I wanted to give him a shout out for really, I mean, he was not doing well. So for him to keep it together and try to go out there and win. He ended up losing his last match 7-6 on riding time. So he was like still in it and fighting. So I was proud of him for that and for just working through the issues and for then, rewarding me with the same fun illness that everyone else has gone through here. So shout out to him. Grappler Fall Classic was really well run from what I could tell. It was a really cool event. A lot of good wrestling from what I saw, and it was nice. So that was my shout out.
Nice little family shout out, even though he made you sick. little
At least he didn't
moral,
shit his pants on the mat, so that's good.
yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
So
and
little
victories. There are moral victories in youth sports. That's what it's about, right there.
I did tell him, I go, don't even worry about throwing up. If it happens, it happens. You won't be the first person to do it. You won't be the last, and you can't control it. So you can control single legs. So go shoot those. But yeah, no, it was an awesome event. So good stuff.
Nice. So we go from one injury report in Kevin's household to another injury report that we got from Vito Arujau over, what was that, yesterday? I believe he posted that, or at least over the weekend. It's been in the last couple of days that, people have obviously flocked to. And it's apparent that Vito has been hurt, right? He had an amazing run in 2023, winning NCAAs, beating RBY, and just looking flawless as he won a world title. Since then, it's been very injury prone for Vito, and it was also injury prone for him while he was in college too. So like, even though he had that amazing run, it still came with fighting through injury. And it probably all kind of came to a head recently where he had to push back the wrestle off, and he really did not look like himself, obviously, wrestling Jax Forrest. And that's not taking anything away from Jax Forrest. Jax is amazing, as we saw him wrestle very well at Worlds. Didn't come back with a medal, but he wrestled very well. But when it comes to Vito's injury and him being transparent about it and the surgeries that he needs to get, it's like, okay, now we finally fully know the reasoning behind all of it. What did you guys make? Robbie, I'm going to come to you first. I'm going to finish off with Austin on this one, mostly because he's covered Vito more than anyone, being an EIWA. But what did you make of the reveal of what his injury truly is? And did it, for you at least, did it help kind of connect the dots on how he's performed lately?
Well, we've known previously that he had some neck issues. We didn't know the extent to which it was injured, but that was the reason he missed a lot of time in his senior year, I believe. So we've known that issue is lingering. Neck injuries are brutal. I mean, I've had herniated discs, and they are very far from being fun, and I don't recommend it to anybody. And competing with that and competing with that at the level that he was is, I mean, a testament to his fortitude, because that takes some big balls to do that. That's tough to do. To be fighting for a world team spot while going through that is very impressive.
And then wrestling a tournament after that too.
Yeah. What would concern me is that, what's the long-term prognosis for this? Is this something that he can really bounce back from, or should bounce back from? Is it something that should make him reevaluate his continued future in the sport? Like it's a no joke injury. And if you're talking neck surgery at 25, 26, like that's a lot to put on his body, and likely won't be the only neck surgeries that he has to have, because that's something that a lot of the time has to be replicated down the line. So it has some pretty serious potential consequences, and I wish nothing but the best for him. Hopefully the surgery goes really well and he recovers well and is able to actually give some weight to considering his future rather than being forced one way or the other.
Yeah. Both him and Yanni having to go through some pretty rough surgeries and injuries. Claunch, your thoughts on Vito's video and his injury update?
Yeah, I honestly, I was like, man, this is kind of an interesting thing. If he really does what he says he was going to do, which is to continue to provide updates and to continue to send other videos and everything, like that's really cool of him to do, and like kind of invite us into this really wild time, right? I'm sure he didn't anticipate having, his what probably should be the athletic prime of his career kind of cut out with some injuries. But here we are. So I don't know. I'm excited for him to get the surgery and to get, hopefully be able to come back and wrestle again. You're right. It is definitely not an easy surgery to go through and will require a lot of recovery, and there's no shortage of issues that could come up from it. But the other thing I thought was very interesting was how many things he's tried. They've tried physical therapy, they've tried all these other things, they've tried taking time off the mat. I don't remember everything he said, but like he's clearly gone.
Crystals?
Yeah. Did he try cold spray?
He didn't.
Yeah, he didn't mention it, at least. So like there's a variety of things that they've tried, and it's like clearly he's like, all right, well, you know what, rather than call it quits, like I'm gonna go under the knife, I'm gonna get this done, and we'll try to put together another run. And honestly, like timing wise, like this is the first year of the quad, so you might as well, if you're ultimately going to try to get back to the Olympics of dropping down or going up, now's the time to get this done and be prepared by then.
Yeah, I think in terms of that, I feel like getting this surgery probably solidifies him going up, right? And I feel like same for Yanni and the surgery that he had. I wouldn't suspect that with these major surgeries, at least, I mean, for Yanni, it doesn't seem major considering he was right back out on the mat not long after having surgery on, what was it, his heart. But like they're messing with some serious parts of your body. So they're serious. So I would suspect that both these guys would want to go up when it comes time for the Olympics instead of dropping down to 57 and 65 where Yanni used to be, as well as where Vito was. Austin, you covered Vito obviously more so than a lot of others with you covering the EIWA. Were there any reports, or at least, we know what his injury is now, so you can probably reveal a little bit of any inside info that people were discussing in the EIWA? And was there ever, I guess, like a timetable that they thought that they were going to be under with him returning to full strength that just never came to fruition?
Well, yeah, in his video, he mentioned it started back in 2023, which would align with, when Crookham as a freshman knocked him off at Journeyman. That was in November of 2023. And then Vito was kind of hurt for most of the year, right? Had kind of half a season, came back to EIWAs and just still didn't look right. And, there were rumors of, oh, it's his neck, it's his upper back. And I didn't know. That I went back and watched some of his matches, and especially that one against Crookham in the EIWAs, he could barely get in a stance, so when he's standing straight up like that, it tells me, okay, there's something wrong here with definitely his neck, but it didn't really matter at NCAAs. He came out and crushed the whole field and wrestled lights out, obviously. So whatever he did then really worked. And, after NCAAs, he went on and, and won a bunch of overseas titles and world titles, things like that. So I thought that was kind of over with. And then this thing with Jack's Forest popped up, and he had to relay his wrestle off. So, there was still a little bit of a thing there. I wasn't sure if it was the same injury or something different. But just goes to show you the toughness of that dude, man. 2 herniated discs, still wrestling. And then Yanni, like you mentioned, with the heart injury, it's like there were questions going on, like, what's going on at Cornell? Do these guys need to change the scenery? Are they going to retire? What's going on? And turns out they were really, really injured, so that's a big difference there when you come to learn these things after the fact.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is like when it's not a knee where you can see them limping, or they've got, crutches, or when it's something that's invisible, right? Like it's like, oh, well, what's wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
Oh, has he lost the fire? It's like, no, his neck is broken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Should have pulled a Brock Mahler, or
Yeah,
who was
right.
the guy with Grant Leaf?
Oh, that
Grant
Grant
Leaf.
Leaf, yeah.
Yeah.
Grant's
It's
a funny dude.
yeah, it's wild to see all the things that these guys have gone through at this point and realize how much winning they've done in spite of all of these injuries, right? If Yanni, I can remember when Yanni was in high school and had to get surgery on his elbows and couldn't go after like a 5th state title. And everybody was like, man, if I were Yanni, I would have waited till after. And he's like, I've got 4 NCAA titles to win. I'm good with 4 high school, 4 state titles. So like the battles that they, and I couple them together because it has been the Yanni and Vito show forever. Basically since, what was it? I can't remember which one beat the other, but since they wrestled when they were younger and then decided to train together after that, they have been the inseparable best friends essentially, with both going to Cornell and everything else. But you couple them together because they've done so much winning in spite of all these injuries that they've had, where afterwards you hear Yanni say, leaving the hospital and saw this in a tweet. And now Vito coming out and saying, this is why I'm in California and getting this surgery. So you're right, Austin. There was a lot of speculation of, do these guys need to change? Should they be leaving Cornell? They look like they lost their pop. And it's like, no, they're pieced together by shoestring and bubblegum right now. And it's just not working out for them to get healthy again. So I hope that both of these guys, and we saw Yanni wrestle at the first RAF and look very good. I hope that both of them can return to peak shape. It's definitely going to take a good amount of time, especially for Vito, because Yanni has already been back on the mat and he's training and he looks very, very well. But Vito, that's a lot of change. You might have to change your stance. You might have to change your tactics. You might have to change your shot. You hope that you don't, but they're cutting open, different parts of you to check out your spine and your neck. Like, there's a lot that can change with your wrestling ability that comes with all of that surgery. So hopefully things do go well. Hopefully he's able to recover. I would love to see him back on the mat as soon as possible, but I'd also understand if he took like a year or two off and we saw him in 2028 competing for an Olympic spot again.
I think I'd
Um,
honestly rather see that. Like take the time to actually heal up and then make a run if you're in the position to do that. Don't rush back and make it worse on yourself and put yourself in a worse situation for the long run. You got a long future ahead of you. And you got to think of life after wrestling as well. And something to be said for being able to walk when you're 60.
yeah, that is something, right? People forget like how short your athletic window is. Despite the fact that LeBron James has been in the league for, I don't know, seems like 10 decades, and Kevin Durant has been playing in the NBA for so long. We watched Tom Brady play as long as he did in the NFL. Like that window is still very short. They still have a good chunk of there's still more of their life ahead of them than that was in the league. So like that is something that I feel like fans definitely forget about when you see a guy struggling is these years of him being an athlete are few and far between. Like there's so much more time to be a dad, a husband, a whatever past sports that nobody is thinking of. So Robbie, I'm with you. I would much rather see him take the time and come back at some point down the line to be fully healthy and make it happen if he's going to be, I guess, back on the mat and trying to compete with the Jack Sparrows of the world.
So while we're on the topic of sports injuries, I just got sent the video of Tyreek Hill's knee, and it looks like his leg damn near got ripped off. It is pretty gnarly. So if you don't like
Yeah.
sports
That
injuries, I
sounds
would
Did
not
that
watch
just
that.
happen? I
It
did
just
not.
happened. Like it's his leg. It's like he came off the sideline. His leg was sideways. It's like turned the wrong direction. Does not look very functional right now.
Kind of like the Willis McGahee hit
That was
from
Dude, I
the
had a
Hall of
oh,
Fame
picture
game.
of that because
that
that
one
was
was
back when Sports
bad.
Illustrated was still a thing, and like they had
Yeah.
like the leading off pictures, and they had a
Yep.
really sweet picture of that. That was on my dorm room door for a long time.
Yeah.
It was a sweet picture.
That
He was
that
like a camel like backwards.
that was why I chose defense to play in college and not offense because I would much rather do the hitting than be hit like that.
Fair.
But yeah, knee injuries are no joke. You feel them forever and ever and ever. Um, let's move from Vito on to the Big Ten schedule and jump right into it. Penn State's schedule is out, and the season is far in the distance, and or should I say, farther in the distance than it normally is when we know what Penn State's schedule looks like. There has been so many times where I have sent an email, reached out, I've said, "Hey, can I talk to some of the guys or do some interviews or what's your schedule look like? What's your roster look like?" I don't think the roster is online, so that probably is still going to fall under that 2 week, at least maybe like the week before the season or whatever their rule is. But Penn State never puts out their schedule. It never is really updated. It's never their rosters aren't out. It's very tough. So I love the fact that not only did the Big Ten put out their entire schedule, but Penn State themselves put out their entire schedule and not just their Big Ten slate. There's much more in there. I will get a chance as well to see them again in Nashville at the, what is it, the collegiate, it's not collegiate duels. It's journeyman. I think it might be journeyman collegiate duels, maybe. I can't remember what the name of it is, but I'll be doing commentary again in Nashville, December 20th for that event, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them wrestle there. I don't know if the full slate is out yet, so I'll keep that under my hat until I'm able to release that because I haven't. Maybe I should look right now see if it's on the Journeyman website. But
Penn
I
State
do.
lists Cornell, or sorry, Stanford and North Dakota State
Yeah, I
wrestling in
know
there.
I saw them put that out for theirs, but I don't know if everybody has their schedule out right now. So, and yeah, I'm looking at the Journeyman website right now, and I'm not seeing it on here. So, I will certainly wait until maybe me see. Collegiate Classic. No, this isn't it. This is the one in Bethlehem in November. Yeah, I don't think that they have it out yet. So, Journeyman has a number of very good events. This one, Penn State will be at. I will be on the call for the one in Nashville once again this year. But there's a very good slate of teams. Whenever, like I said, whenever we get the okay to release that, I'll, make sure that we put that out there. But yeah, Penn State will be there once again. I know last year we got Levi Haynes, wrestling Keegan O'Toole, and then obviously that went a different way when we got to NCAAs. But yeah, Penn State's schedule is out. What do you guys make of? Let's stick with Penn State because this is the first time that we're actually able to preview it in some time. What do you make of their schedule? And not their whole schedule, not just their Big Ten schedule. We will dig into theirs as well as Minnesota's, because Minnesota, I believe, put their schedule out today, and then look at the Big Ten slate. But what do you guys make of Penn State's schedule this year?
I mean, just the out of the conference stuff. I mean, they usually wrestle Lehigh, so there's that. But I love that they've got Oklahoma on there. They've got Wyoming. They've closed the season out with Princeton. In addition to the collegiate dual stuff and then the rest of their Big Ten schedule. So they've got a good variety of teams in there, right? Wyoming's going to bring in a couple All-American caliber guys. Princeton the same. Obviously Lehigh this year is fairly loaded at a lot of weight, so that's going to be competitive. Oklahoma as well. They brought in a couple transfers and should be in a good spot. So I'm happy to see what they're doing there. And then just in general with like Drexel and Wyoming and Princeton, I know that those are coaching staffs where they're like, look, we have to go up against the best in the country if you actually want to be there, right? So I don't know if gracious is the right term. It probably isn't, but it's like, I'm glad to see that these are the programs that they're going to be going up against outside of the Big Ten, giving these guys some chances to really grow and compete at the highest level before their respective conference tournaments. So very excited.
Yeah. Austin, your thoughts on the Penn State schedule, but more importantly for you and your EIWA coverage, the Lehigh Penn State match. What matchups, at least tentatively, are you looking forward to the most with the firepower that Lehigh has in their lineup against Penn State? And then, like I said, overall, what are your thoughts on the Penn State schedule?
Yeah, I like opening up with Oklahoma. You got to think Coach Mark Hall out there had a big part, in that one. And then, yeah, talking to Drexel. Drexel went to Penn State last year, so Penn State's returned the favor, coming to Drexel. And anytime Penn State comes to a smaller program like a Drexel, like a Binghamton, some of those EIWA schools, it's going to pull a crowd. So you're just looking at getting fans in the stands, hoping it's not a complete shutout or a complete blowout, right? You want to see some competitive matches. But the Lehigh match, yeah, that's going to be a good one. They wrestled at the PPL Center in Allentown last year, where the minor league hockey team plays. So that filled up, I think, 7,000 people, 10,000 people, something like that. It was pretty big event. This year it's going to be at Penn State, but I think those first three matches are going to be huge. Seymour beat Lowell last year in the quarterfinals, right? So that's going to be a good one. Crookham going to make his not his debut, but he'll have a good match there against whoever Penn State decides to throw out. It might be Blaze at that point. See what Blaze is made of in a spot like that. And 41, just seeing Stanich up at 141 after coming off a world title. I know he did have some kind of knee thing done, might have been a minor scope. So I'm not even sure if he'll be ready yet. I got to follow up on that. But if he is ready to go, that's going to be a good one as well, just to see who Penn State throws out there, because I know there are some questions about who's going 41.
Yeah, the other thing is the heavyweight match.
Yeah, that's the other one too. Yeah.
This is probably the first time in a while that it's probably a kind of a head scratcher for Penn State when it comes to heavyweight, right? They've had Kirk Fleet for so long that he was a perennial in that top 5, top 3 heavyweights in the country, and obviously he was a national champion. Does this? You would think it potentially does favor Lehigh in this with Nathan Taylor being there. Or no, not Nathan Taylor. Is Nathan Taylor still there?
Yeah, Nathan Taylor.
Yeah, Nathan Taylor's still there. I felt like I was getting the name wrong, but just the fact that they have the seasoned heavyweight at Lehigh and that Penn State does not is in and of itself going to be part of the duel. So very big matches in Lehigh, Penn State, probably for the first time in a long time where this dual meet looks the way that it does.
And yeah, if you're a Lehigh fan with, trying to be optimistic, you're looking to steal those first three. And then if you could snag heavyweight, that's 4 bouts there. So, where are you going to find another upset to potentially beat Penn State? Will it happen with Penn State's, bonus points that they're definitely going to get? Probably not, but, if you're a Lehigh fan, you got to be feeling pretty good about at least 3 of those 4 matches, right?
Yeah. I hope they hype it up. They should. I mean, we'll
I think
certainly
they should,
be talking
yeah.
about it. So hopefully they do it justice because it is a very big Pennsylvania duel, to be completely honest. Robbie, your thoughts on Pennsylvania or on Penn State's schedule?
There's a couple of ones that I'm looking forward to. I like that they're going out to Wyoming to return that favor. There's actually some sneaky good matches in that duel, especially upper weights. You're looking at 97, Novak and Barr is going to be fantastic. 84, Neaton Bucks, excuse me, Eddie Neaton Bucks going to be really tough this year. They'll have
He's
Dr.
awesome.
Welsh, and then Christian Carroll and Marisola. Excuse me. So some sneaky good matches there to end that duel. Wyoming is rebuilding at the lightweights, but the upper weights will be really fun there. And then at collegiate duels, they're going to have Stanford, and I've been talking about Stanford a lot. They're going to be really, really good this year, and there's some pretty stellar matchups there as well. You starting out with Little Doll. God, yeah, I can't talk right now. Little Doll and Nico Provo. So that's going to be a good early test for Nico, clearly. But up and down the lineup, I mean, whoever they end up with at 33, Blaze or Ono is going to have Tyler Knox, Braden Davis, Aiden Valencia, one of the biggest hype guys coming out, and KSAT Cardenas. There's some great Messenbrink and Hunter Garvin and Lorenzo Norman and Levi Haynes. Like all those are really, really good matches for early in the season and previews of potential All-American round matches.
Very good slate of wrestling. I want to move now. I mean, I think Penn State obviously is the hype of wrestling in general, but I want to move to Minnesota. They also put out their schedule today. I'm looking at the graphics here. Their non-conference schedule, they've got Virginia Tech, NDSU, they've got the national duels, South Dakota State, Little Rock. They wrestle they wrestle at the Bison Open and they wrestle NDSU later on in the schedule. And then they also have the Soldier Salute for all the non-conference things. I think it's a very good slate. Robbie, I'm coming back to you. What do you make of them being at the Southeast Open with Virginia Tech being there?
I think it'd be good. I mean, it's a new for them. It would be really cool to see them in a duel the night before, but that's not going to happen. I think Bucknell is actually coming down to open up the season for Virginia Tech. They don't have a lot of great duels before national duels. But Southeast Open usually has some really good competition, and it's going to be interesting to see some of the transfers for Minnesota and see kind of how they fit in and what they look like in their first action. Good old Jorge Volk will be there, and we'll see how he looks. And I mean, there's always the Southeast Open is split into 2 divisions, so I'm assuming that they're just going to take their starters and not their full squad to the freshman division.
Mm-hmm.
But there's usually some really, really good matches. North Carolina's usually there. NC State usually sends some guys. A lot of the PA schools will send some guys. So there's always some really good early season competition there.
Now, the Big Ten conference slate for Minnesota is pretty serious. They've got this is in order too: Illinois, Nebraska, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Iowa, Rutgers, Maryland, and Michigan State. These duels are going to be very good. And there's a lot of top tier matches that are in there. But obviously, the one that everybody is circling is that Iowa match, right? You got Max McAnally wrestling Ferrari. That's going to be a huge dual meet that a lot of people can't wait to see. I mean, I think the one Hawkeye Report account is saying that no one can compete with Angelo Ferrari and all this and all that. And I'm like,
Yeah, we'll
let's pump the brakes. Like overall, 184 is going to be absolutely disgusting. this coming season. But on top of that, McAnally only lost to NCAA champs last year. He only lost to finalists. Like, that is it. And he was in both of those matches late. You know, if there's not some old man savvy by Ketkaizen to dive underneath and pass a leg and get the takedown, and if he's able to sustain what he had started against Darachi, very different at both Big Tens and NCAAs. You know, so I think he's lived up to, one, the hype. Obviously, he's coming off a world title as well, but two, it's tough to see. It's tough for me to see anybody beating Max McAnally this year. And I know that Angelo Ferrari is stingy, a very stingy wrestler, very hard to score on. But it's just, I feel like that match is going to come down to probably, you know, maybe like a potential ride. It probably won't be a takedown or anything else. I think both guys can score on each other, but it's probably going to come down to somebody getting out from bottom and not being ridden. But as we look at Minnesota's Big Ten slate and overall schedule, Kevin, what are some of the dual meets that stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, the main one I wrote down was just against South Dakota State, just because it's like the Damian Hahn Bowl, you know, two-time national champ for the Golden Gophers back in the day, and now obviously the head coach at South Dakota State. If we're going to stick with McAnally for a moment, you'll get McAnally against Bennett Berge, who, you know, wrestled well and is a still young and super competitive guy, so that'll be a fun one. But they just generally have a pretty decent lineup every year, South Dakota State. So I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to throw at Minnesota. They've been close a couple times over the last couple years, hasn't actually gotten the win, which I know has bothered Coach Hahn quite a bit. But what did they have, like 7 All-Americans a couple years ago too, like 2-3 years ago, or maybe it was 6. It was a lot. It was a lot of All-Americans. So I'm excited for that one. Minnesota, I mean, they, by virtue of just having obviously the Big Ten schedule, you're going to have a lineup. But yeah, I didn't realize that it was quite that heavy. They'll be anything but battle tested, or anything if not battle tested by the time they get to Big Tens and NCAAs. They will have seen everyone important.
Yeah, for sure. Austin, who sticks out to you on this Minnesota conference and non-conference schedule?
Yeah, I liked the Southeast Open, kind of mimicking what Robbie said. Minnesota was at the Navy Classic last year, had a pretty good tournament. So they're trying something new with the Southeast Open, and with that being open and weekend and guys getting down to the weight for the first time, you're gonna probably see some upsets you're not expecting. That usually happens every year, especially at a tough event like that. So we'll see if anyone from Minnesota drops a match that maybe they shouldn't have, and that they'll definitely reverse in the later half of the year. But yeah, I mean, going to Iowa, going to Rutgers when it comes to the Big Ten schedule, it's going to be tough sledding, you know, especially Iowa, great environment. Rutgers is becoming a really, really fun environment to wrestle in. But on the flip side, they had Nebraska and Ohio State at home, you know, so 2 of the 4 heavy hitters, I'll say. I'll throw Illinois in there at Illinois too. So Nebraska and Ohio State at home will help with that, navigating that challenging road schedule there.
Yeah. The one that sticks out for me, and I feel like this one is probably on the schedule for that match at 197, and it's the Little Rock duel. You want to see McAnally versus Little and how they compete against each other. I don't think, did they hit at all last year? I don't think that they did.
They're at different weights unless Little's coming down.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Little was at 84, or that they were both at the same weight. Sorry. Completely fucked that up completely. Maybe it's just my own wishful thinking that I would like to see those guys wrestle each other at 97, but
I would like to see that too.
I would like, that is one of those
weight.
matches that I was just like as I'm looking at him, like Little Rock, I'm like, is Stephen Little? No, he's at 97. But the overall look at Minnesota's schedule in the Big Ten is a slate that will have them battle tested, as you said, Kevin. It is pretty wild. They're going to be fully ready for everything that is thrown at them when they get to that Big Ten tournament. But obviously I want to see, and this was something Piles put out I believe earlier today, was the national duels seeding. The top 4 will be seeded. The rest will be drawn in randomly, and they'll release that on Flow Wrestling as they're part of the whole natural production of everything. But I want to see where Minnesota matches up and where they're drawn into all of these things. I don't think that they'll be one of the top 4 seeds that are in this. They might be. I don't have the teams in front of me right now to remember correctly who's all there, but I definitely think that this national duels is something that I hope is a perennial thing on schedules and continues to happen and isn't just hosted by Paycom, that there are more and more people that want to throw their hat in the ring.
Mhm.
So yeah, just absolutely one of the staples that I hope that we start to gain as the season goes on. And I know that Penn State is not there. We just talked about their schedule. They will be in Nashville getting some pretty good matches there, as they've kind of got last year. I mean, they shut out basically everybody, but that was mostly not due to a lack of competition, but mostly due to the fact that they were just really, really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how the national duels pans out and how Minnesota does and how they match up with the rest of these teams as well. The Big Ten schedule overall was also released, and
One thing, let me throw this out real quick, just because Michigan
yep.
did release their schedule as well,
Mhm.
their full schedule, and because Robbie brought it up earlier, Virginia is coming to Ann Arbor, so I'm excited to go watch that. Say hi to
Yeah,
Steve.
they were out here last year. That was one of the better duels at UVA last year.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
And KJ is very intimidating in person.
He's not. He's a big teddy bear, that guy.
He is. I could see where he's a very scary man though.
Yeah. Yep. More like a grizzly bear than anything. But yeah, the overall Big Ten schedule was released, and I'm like I said, I like that the Big Ten schedule came out, and a lot of these Big Ten schools didn't just release just their conference slate, but their full slate, right? Any matches on here that we didn't, we obviously discussed Penn State and Minnesota. Um, any matches on here conference wise that are really sticking out to you guys that you're looking forward to in the Big Ten? Kevin, I'll start with you.
I don't know if it's a match so much. I'm just excited to see what Wisconsin's going to look like. They quietly had a pretty good end of the season with Fugit getting an All-American. Was it Nicolar Rivera at 125, almost upsetting Matt Ramos? I think at Big Tens, but he still had a good NCAAs. I think you're going to get Braxton Amos back wrestling at heavyweight, so that'll be cool to see.
He's large right now.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him earlier today. So I am just kind of intrigued to see what we're going to get out of Wisconsin, because I'm excited to see that. That'll be interesting. And then in general, just this Iowa team, I want to see what they look like. Still bringing in a couple new faces and everything, and then obviously Ferrari. See what ends up happening with Gabe Arnold, or if he ends up bumping up, or what they end up doing there. Because yeah, obviously he's still super talented, and want to see what where he can get back into the lineup, or if this is just a year where he redshirts and works out and figures it out from there. But yeah, Wisconsin and Iowa are two that I just at first glance was like, all right, excited to see these two.
Mm-hmm. Austin?
Yeah, I feel like Illinois doesn't get talked enough about. Feel like they have a lot of sneaky good guys, a great staff there, and I think they're on the verge of doing some big things. It just obviously it's hard to get over that hump of beating an Iowa, beating a Nebraska, beating a Penn State, obviously. So, they can keep duels like that close and, be in the mix and find themselves in the top 5 of the Big Ten at the end of the year. I think that's a good season for them. And I like what Indiana's doing as well. Coach Escobedo out there and, kind of young and hungry and, getting some good recruits out there. And again, just slowly chipping away, and you can gradually see them getting better. And it's fun to see those teams that are kind of in that middle tier trying to fight for a top 5 finish. I'm excited to see how those teams pan out.
Yeah. Robbie?
I think my biggest takeaway is that Nebraska is going to have a hell of a schedule this year, and they're going to have, coming off a Big Finish last year. They're going to have some things to prove, whether that was legit or that was a fluke and or just a good run or what it was. But they're going to be tested all season. They got West Point, then they have Mizzou out of conference, North Carolina out of conference, Oklahoma State out of conference, Northern Iowa out of conference, and then in conference, Minnesota, Iowa, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, Illinois, and then out of conference Utah Valley. Like they're going to have a hell of a slate, and they're going to be tested individually and as a team in a lot of those duels. So they're not going to have, a well-rested, probably healed up team coming into the postseason like they did for the most part this year. They're going to be running a gauntlet all year.
Yeah, things are going to get serious for them. And obviously, the heavyweight weight class in the Big Ten is something that I feel like everybody's going to have their eye on with, and they normally do anyway. But with Ferrari being in there, and Braxton Amos being back at heavyweight, at least coming back and going up to heavyweight for Wisconsin, the Marisola being at heavyweight for Penn State, and kind of being, I guess, for the first time in a while, a question mark for who they truly have that's there. So that in and of itself is going to be very interesting. But for me, I want to see what Ohio State has and what they're bringing, and mostly how Mendez impresses on his two NCAA finishes, title finishes over the past 2 years. But then what they do at 133, Ben Davino is the guy. He's got to be the guy. He looked phenomenal as a true freshman, wrestling where he wrestled, on all those different locations on his 5 dates. But then having Buzakis also there, right? What is happening? Is somebody going up? Is somebody going down? Somebody who's sitting, right? You have these two pretty talented guys that you can plug in there at 133. So who goes where and who does what? I would be surprised if we didn't see Ben Davino for the most part, but there's going to be a wrestle off. I'm looking forward to seeing the wrestle off first and foremost. Hopefully they do put out more than just the scores. Hopefully they actually do like a true wrestle off that people can watch, because I feel like that's going to be the match that everybody really wants to see at 133 within their own room of who's going to start. And, but nonetheless, I feel like Ben Davino is going to be a force at 133 just with what he did last year. I think he can potentially finish on the podium, even though 33 is kind of like 184, where there's a lot of really tough guys at 33 in and of itself. So Ohio State kind of has my eye in the Big Ten, and then obviously Rutgers, right? I want to see how they pan out with their, new coaching staff, at least with Labriola going into his second year, and the rumors of who might be headed there. I got one text, so I shouldn't say rumors. I should say rumor of who might be popping up in the Rutgers room. So we'll certainly see what happens there. But and all in all, I'm a fan of Rutgers. I like seeing those guys succeed, especially with having Lehigh Valley guys on their coaching staff. But Goodale's always been a really good dude, and you definitely want to see those guys succeed. Anybody else in the Big Ten that we're anxious to see? Any lineup questions or any duels that you like as well?
I'm glad. I'm glad you came back, because I should talk about Michigan. A, I'm wearing the Michigan Wrestling hat. B, I'm wearing my Cliff King Wrestling Club hoodie. And C, they've got a lot of moving parts.
Too?
I am. Yes. Good guess, Robbie.
The rest of them were shitty. He didn't want to wear his lucky pair.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean they've got a lot of moving parts in their lineup. They got Diego Sotelo coming in at 125 from Harvard, transferring in from there. 133, Ragason's coming back, so that's exciting. Missed watching him compete. Sergio Lemley, always fun. Lachlan McNeil at 149. 157 is likely going to be Cam Catrabone, who had a pretty good redshirt year and has looked good in the room from what I understand. 165, I was just kind of looking through their lineup, and they have Dylan Gilcher listed at 157/165, and I'm like, damn, that would be interesting to see him out there, because he's a shorter dude, but it was 149 last year. Yeah. So, but hey, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with that spot. Then you've got the Mantinonas at 174 and 184. Hayden Walters had a good summer. He's wrestled really well, 4-time state champ out of Oregon. And then obviously Tay Gadiali coming in from Campbell. So that is a very different lineup from the one that they threw out last season. But I'm excited to see what it's going to turn into.
Tay was looking big in the last pictures I saw of him too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see how Lachlan looks in a new environment. I mean, he was successful at UNC. He's a great kid. Excited to see what he can do. He's very smart too, so I think he's making the most of his grad school at Maryland, Michigan.
There we go.
Yeah, and obviously 184 is going to be. I mean, I think someone touched on it with McAnally, Ferrari, and Rocco Welsh at Penn State. You know, it's probably end up top 3 guys, and you know they're all in the same conference, going to meet each other multiple times. But
At least we hope they meet each other more.
Yeah, let's hope so. If things go to plan right, and it'll be bizarre to see a heavyweight without Gable or Kirkfleet since like 2017 or whatever the year was. So it's kind of a little more open now that those 2 out of the picture, that we think they're done with eligibility, but who knows with COVID anymore.
There's really no telling. Like
Yeah.
maybe we'll get the Undertaker.
Yeah, we'll see.
At NCAA's and just sit up Matt's side.
I mean, there is a what's coming down the pipeline is the 5-for-5 deal that is a little bit different in college than when I was in college. I was as a starving kid. You now get 5 years of eligibility, just free and clear, right? So that's going to be, or not now, but it is a potential of it happening, I should say, and I think it is most likely going to happen as well.
Now I have a question with that nobody's been able to give me a clear answer. As an Olympic sport, will there still be an option of an Olympic red shirt to add a 6 year of eligibility?
Gotta be.
And will injury red shirts be a thing still?
Yeah, I don't think any of those things change. They, from what I've read,
nothing has changed.
I mean, from what I've read, I haven't heard of any of those stipulations. That could be the fine print, right? The headlines have been 5-for-5 is what it really is. You get 5 years of eligibility, and that's what you get, right? So who knows if they do make those changes? I mean, I think it's a good argument, right? Where you're potentially getting 7 years of wrestling, where you have that medical red shirt, you've got that Olympic red shirt as well. So
wrestling almost into their 30s right now, and it's
valid point.
We need to put a cap on this.
Don't forget the 2-year mission too.
For fuck's sake. Technically, they're not in college though at that point, so that I can understand more because that's just deferring eligibility.
Yeah, that's deferring.
Actually started, but if they start a year and then go on mission, then I think it adds complexity to it.
Yeah.
Speaking of deferred eligibility, it popped the EIWA in my mind, and when Robbie said something about Lachlan and UNC, I heard that Josh Saunders might end up at UNC like after this year.
That would be interesting.
I think he has like another year left, a year or something left, and UNC might be where he ends up. I think
I could see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
That would be good for him.
Yeah, speaking of ACC transfers, we had one more this week with the Citadel job opened up the portal for them. Patrick Brophy headed to NC State to solidify a weight that they needed solidified. And it actually could have a lot of bearing on how the ACC shakes out, because that was definitely a weak spot for them. And Brophy being a NCAA qualifier certainly gives him a better option there. And him having the room that he's going to be in there with and the people he'll be training with, it should jump up his stock pretty quickly.
Yeah. There's a lot of good wrestling that's going to happen. And I completely forgot to mention Nick Feldman for Ohio State as well in that mix for heavyweight. Ferrari versus Feldman.
He's as wide as he is tall.
Yeah.
I know Gadiali kicked the shit out of him last year.
He did take it to him. So there's that rematch as well, now that they're both in the Big Ten. So, man, we're lucky. Got some good heavies. Heavyweight era is pretty fun. So that's Big Ten. Let's move to recruiting. And before we talk about, I shouldn't even say some unserious recruiting because I think it was serious. I think recruiting Hayden Schwab was done in a serious manner. I think the content that the Schwabs put out was awesome. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall for Hayden Hidley to be sitting at the table giving a pitch, right? Like
Just with Doug just staring at him.
just love it, right? Like I think it's awesome. Doug probably looking at him like trying to underhook me or something to that effect. But obviously Hayden Schwab is going to UNI. But like, what did you guys make of that entire situation? Obviously, everybody had fun with it. We loved the content. But like, what do you guys make of any of these kids that have dads on the next level where recruiting them, you still have to, as a coach, you still have to look at them as any other recruit, but like, do you really feel like you have a chance, or is it just like kind of a wasted trip, right? Like I was just at Elite Eight duels where Robbie's son wrestled. So I watched Robbie's son wrestle. And then he's very good. He did lose the match that I commentated, but he was very good during the match. And then Eggum's son also wrestled at Elite Eight as well, and Eggum was there. I did not see Roby, but Eggum was there. What do you guys make of recruiting the sons of wrestling coaches? Do you think it's a waste of time, or do you feel like they still need to give it a shot? Robbie, you're shaking your head, so have at it.
Well, I've spoken with Tony about this because he has one son on the roster now, and then his youngest is a senior. His story is really cool too, like learning how to balance wrestling with while he has diabetes and figuring out the management of that with his weight. It's pretty cool. And to see the success he's had recently and the growth he's made is fun to watch. But talking to Tony about it, I mean, he's pretty open. Like he wants his sons to do what's best for them, whether that's being in his room or being somewhere else. And clearly he wants him at Virginia Tech and would be a good fit for the program, has been around the program, knows the guys, but he's willing to entertain other things. And he wants other people to discuss options with his son. Like he's not getting shut down. And we saw that from the Schwabs too. And like as much joking as they did with it and as fun as they are, playing with it, like they were legitimately open to other offers and they were considering them. And I mean, to the point that they shut down recruitment early because he was actually supposed to come out to Virginia Tech this weekend or next weekend. So they were fielding other offers. It was a serious recruitment, but that there's a massive built-in advantage, not just with the dad being the head coach, but with especially these programs that we're talking about, Minnesota, Virginia Tech, UNI, they all have a very, very strong family feel. And those head coaches really bring their family into the fold of everything. And it's just part of the gig. I mean, I would say most head coaches, their family is part of the team family, but some to a bigger extent. So you have all that and those intertwined relationships, like take the Schwabs, for example, like they've known those guys forever and they've grown up with them and worked out with them in the room. And you have this huge advantage, but it's fair for them to see what else is out there and see if there's a fit they think is going to be better for them athletically, academically. What if you want to go to a school that has a program that your dad's school doesn't have? Like you have to consider that. It's the next big step in their life. And from what I've seen, the coaches have done a very good job balancing that and being realistic about it while still A, wanting what's best for their kids and B, wanting what's best for their program.
I agree with that. Claunch, what are your thoughts on recruiting the coach's son?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of what Robbie said is pretty spot on. Like unless you're just a jerk, you probably want what's best for your kid, independent of where that is, right?
Yeah, Tony. Jeez.
I could. I would be
giving up kidneys.
I would. No. I'm saying like that's no. Yeah, he didn't give it to his kid. He gave it to someone else's kid. Does he really love his kid? Really? Like that's a question I have to ask now. No, I mean, it happens all the time, right? We got Asher Cunningham going to Penn State, right? Like there's this is not the only instance this recruiting circumstance, right? So I don't know. I think that in general, like, yeah, if your kid has a chance to go to Stanford, you look into that, right? You see if it has the feel or the intangible things that you feel like you're going to need in that recruiting trip. So yeah, you check it out, right? So at the end of the day, I mean, in the circumstance with Hayden Schwab, I think most of us looked at that and was like, he's going to be in Northern Illinois or Northern Iowa. That one's they have too much fun together. The family's too much together. Like we've been watching them for over a decade, right? Like, so you kind of knew about that one, but yeah, as far as like the general idea of it, you want to put your kid in the best situation that they can be in. And sometimes that's going to a different city or a different part of the country and experiencing different people and doing things on their own. And sometimes it's not. So to each his own.
Yeah. Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm not sure if they put out like a video or anything of how he committed. I don't know if was that a phone call to his dad or did he just say something at dinner? I'm sure they could have done something funny there. But yeah, I mean, if you're Cornell, if you're Stanford, VTech, whoever was on his radar, you got to take your shot, and get him out there, see if he likes it. There's actually 2 instances of the EIWA that I, off the top of my head, I could think of. Coach Rogers at F&M, his son wrestles at Lehigh. And Coach Wernsberg at Bucknell, his oldest son, Cade, wrestles for him at Bucknell, and his middle son, Max, just committed to Cal Baptist. So I think that's a unique situation where the kids are going elsewhere, in the IWA here. But yeah, it's just whatever's best for the kid. And as a good dad, you got to support it, right? What else can you do?
Or kick him out of the family. One of the two.
There you go. Yeah.
You're dead to me.
Leave and don't come back.
No, I love that they had fun with it, right? I love that they were welcoming to anybody that wanted to recruit him, obviously. I guess if you're in this day and age, you're like, we want to kind of hold some cards close to the vest in that situation because NIL is big, right? And then you kind of open that door and you're talking about, hey, we can offer you this, we can offer you that. Mm-hmm. And the coach dad is sitting in the same room hearing all these other things that all these other schools are able to do and what their tactics are. So for me, that's the side that I think about it, right? Like, what is that pitch like? Like, I would love to hear what Hayden said. And by that, I mean Hayden Hidley, what he said to him on that trip, what was said. And obviously there was a ton of fun and they were recording everything, but the cameras do go off and they have serious conversations. So what is that pitch like? Is it like any other pitch, or do they have some different tactics because Doug Schwab is his father, So I think it was all in good fun, but I think, nobody was obviously surprised that he was going there, but it was, as we look at, we're going to pivot here in a second, but as we look at how the recruitment of Bo Bassett goes on, and how a lot of people are talking about money, money, money all the time and what the package is and what we get here as opposed to what we get here, to see a refreshing recruitment of a high school talent. And I shouldn't say that Bo Bassett's not refreshing, but this was on a different side of things. This wasn't a, big marketing, big NIL deal. There was nothing like that. So the content side of it with their mom, with Allison doing what she did and recording all the things, that was the refreshing part of it, because it was really cool to see. It was really cool to see them have fun with the entire process as well as take it seriously and take everything in. So, like I said, I wanted to pivot to the Bo Bassett situation, and indirectly it's a Bo Bassett situation because Melvin Miller releases his top 4, and for me, I'm like, that's cool that Melvin Miller releases top 4, but I also feel like that means that Bo Bassett probably released his top 4 in that as well. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Iowa wasn't in it.
Right? Pretty crazy. But Penn State was, and so was Oklahoma State. Schools that people are saying, oh, they don't want them. They don't want this. They don't want that. But and the same that we were saying with Yanni and Vito being kind of linked together, Melvin Miller and the Bassets are obviously linked together So when, like I said, when I see that Melvin Miller's top 4 comes out, I'm like, well, these must be the schools that Bo is also considering as well. Has to be, because I do not see them splitting up at this point. I'd be very shocked if they did, because of all the different things that have gone on, and what that family dynamic actually looks like. What did you guys make of Melvin Miller's top 4, and where could you see him end up? Austin, I'm gonna start with you on this one.
I mean, yeah, we saw they were at Nebraska last week, Virginia Tech
Twice.
this week. Yeah, that was our second one. Yeah, and I think we talked about it last time too. Penn State and Oklahoma State, we kind of get the vibe that they're not really in the picture. So I think they're a 3 and 4, maybe distant 3 and 4. But yeah, I'm not shocked to see Nebraska and Virginia Tech there. I think in terms of NIL money, they're probably similar, or if not very close in that. So it's just going to come down to training partners. Melvin Miller, they had at Virginia Tech, Jo was down there. They had a really nice recruiting class, and pulled out everything to try and lure these guys in. So, yeah, I think either two would be great. I just feel like Bo is more of a Big Ten guy, so that's why I'm kind of leaning Penn State, just simply for Bo being all Iowa all the time, and then now things change. I still think he might want that Big Ten schedule, but that's just kind of me shooting at the hip here.
Yeah. Robbie, what do you make of the Melvin Miller top 4, and how do you feel? I mean, maybe you have a little bit of insight. I don't know. How do you feel about the trip to Virginia Tech and how it went there?
To me, the top 4 is not surprising. It feels kind of like the top 2, same as it did with Bo when he narrowed down his list after he committed. It feels like Nebraska and Virginia Tech are kind of the 2 in the driver's seat, and I mean, you can't discount a late push from Oklahoma State or Penn State with the resources they have and the coaches they have and everything they can offer. But it seems, based on their roster, based on what their availability is, that Virginia Tech and Nebraska make more sense. NIL wise, Nebraska is much more established than Virginia Tech is. So to me, and I guess with Bo giving up the numbers that we know he gave up at Iowa and reopening his commitment and knowing that any deals they get now are going to be smaller than that initial deal, based on the new parameters. It feels like it's not as much about money as it is about feel and finding the right spot for the 3 of them. I mean, realistically, they're very much looked at as a package deal. From every indication I've had, I was there last year when Bo came for his official visit to Virginia Tech, because it was during the weekend of the Mizzou duel, and Melvin and Keegan were both there as well. Clearly, it wasn't Melvin's official visit because he wasn't old enough, but every indication I've had from Virginia Tech is that they feel very good about him. They feel like they're going to be a good fit. The team feels comfortable with them. Caleb Henson feels really, really good with the connection that he has with the Bassetts and with Melvin. So I would love to see Virginia Tech really be, in the top 2, but it's hard to know which direction they're going to lean. I was talking with somebody earlier, a friend of mine, and I feel like, personally, my feeling is that I think Melvin is underlooked, compared to Bo. I think he's going to have a higher ceiling, and that's just based off of my feel, not off of anything else, but just what I've seen from him. And I think that he's got a lot of room still to grow, and I think he's going to end up being a really, really good college wrestler.
Yeah. Claunch?
I feel like so much money's already got to be spoken for at Nebraska and Penn State and Oklahoma State. You know what I mean? Like, those are loaded top to bottom rosters, and even have some dudes I'm sure who are getting paid that aren't expected to do anything yet. You know what I mean? Or be in the lineup. I think Virginia Tech probably gives him the quickest opportunity to jump right in. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be the most money or how that works, but certainly get right in right away and compete. And, it's not like, it's not the Big Ten, but it's not like Virginia Tech is running from competition. They're generally at the big tournaments. They're generally at some decent events throughout the year. So yeah, I don't know. That's my initial thought. I'm kind of excited for the idea of Virginia Tech to start landing some big recruits as well. So because they clearly develop people very well. So
That is very
We got a
true.
great class coming in this year. So
Mhm.
I was very impressed by Melvin at Elite Eight. Obviously, I've seen Bo wrestle a number of times at Elite Eight and just like all over the place. And excuse me. And I seen while Bo was the more impressive of the wrestlers, I also feel like Melvin had probably better competition at Elite Eight than Bo did. Where even though I say that, even though I believe Bo absolutely torched the number 3 guy in the country in his weight class, but I feel like there was a little bit more competitiveness in Melvin's matches because he's still maybe a little bit more green than Bo. But I think you're right about Melvin's ceiling being very high and what he is able to do and where he's able to go. But I was very impressed with like his poise. He gave up a takedown and came back and didn't back down, right? And that's for me as a, if I'm recruiting, I'm like I want to see a high school kid face adversity instead of just torch everyone out there. I want to see how he responds. I want to see how he bounces back in a match. And I was, for this being one of the first times that I was able to see Melvin Miller wrestle in person, um, with him in this weight class. I think I saw him maybe a couple of years ago as well as a smaller wrestler, but I was very impressed, and I was very impressed by his poise and his control on the mat. So I would think that at Virginia Tech they can definitely foster that, and I think obviously I am a Brian Snyder homer, so I know that he can foster that as well. But it's tough to see either one of these guys, call it Bo or Melvin, at Oklahoma State or Penn State, just based on the amount of talent that is in the room and in probably the weight classes that they both want to be in. So for me, it's I agree that it is a Nebraska Virginia Tech top 2 most likely, and we'll see kind of where they end up for sure. But Melvin putting out a top 4 to me meant that this was probably Bo's top 4 as well because they seem to all discuss things together. Any other recruiting anecdotes or nuggets you guys want to drop, or are we ready to talk RAF and the matchups that they have put out for their October 25th card that is yet to be finished just yet? Let's go to RAF. So first things first, let's talk about this. I guess we can call it like a wrestling influencer bout. Caden Henschel is obviously a Division II wrestler. Keelan Jimison is, I guess, a competitor. And I'm not trying to like shit on anybody in this. I want to look more at the premise of the match and not who's in it. But both of these guys have huge followings, and not because of how great they are at wrestling. It is more so the content they put out, which I watched, and they're completely different. But I've seen a ton of Caden's content. I think he does a very great job promoting wrestling and doing all the things that he does. I have nothing bad to say about him whatsoever. I think his podcast was also really, really cool. I wish that him and I don't even know what the kid's name was that he was doing his podcast with, but I hopefully they bring that back at some point because I thought it was really cool. But we've seen a number of these like all-star cards, these Jake Paul type cards, and street beefs and what's the other one, the Barstool one, Austin?
Rough and rowdy.
Rough and Rowdy, right? We've seen a lot of these different cards in boxing, and I feel like a matchup like this is pulling that kind of a thing into wrestling, despite Hayden being, like I said, a Division II wrestler that we definitely know about and have seen compete, I feel like they have turned to the YouTube world for the last couple of years, and that's more so what they're known for than their actual wrestling. So if we're going to go down this route where everybody was banking on RAF being a true sustainable pro wrestling organization, but now we're going to throw this in there where it is, while it is two guys that have a wrestling background, they're more so not known for their wrestling prowess. They're known for the content that they put out. Is this the route that we want to go down, right? Like as a wrestling community. And I'm not in any way, again, shitting on the guys. It's more so the fact that Willie is a matchmaker for this, and he has long said that he wants big names in big matches, whereas this one seems like a play for engagement, as both these guys have huge followings. What did you guys make of this card, or not so much this card, but this match? And do you feel like this is a good play for an organization early on in its, I mean, it's card number 2 in its infancy as we move forward? Robbie, your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it makes sense. When they're trying to establish themselves and establish a viewership, that they're bringing in known commodities that have large followings. I think you could argue on a similar note that Bajrang, with the following that he has, offered a similar opportunity because he's been off the mat for so long. So clearly not the same, right? Not the same situation, but a similar idea in that we're bringing in a name that has a huge following, who can bring that following with them to watch this event. Now, this match seems to me to be only about that. I don't know anything about the background of this Jemison kid. Apparently he wrestled in high school and his content is somewhat wrestling adjacent. I know nothing about it. I don't watch YouTube people. It's not my thing. So I don't know. I feel like it hurts the legitimacy if you're trying to promote yourself as the de facto pro league and establish yourself as the, number one. This is what everybody needs to be aiming for. We're having championships, but then we're effectively treating this as a sideshow event to garner people to watch the event. So maybe it's helpful early in the infancy of the league to get some eyeballs on it, but I feel like it takes away from the overall mission that they're trying to establish.
Yeah. Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Robbie there. And, the question I have is, this is obviously the second RAF. Was viewership not where they wanted it to be after the first one? So they're just thinking outside the box here in the second one to get more viewership? Or was this always kind of planned like, hey, first one, we're going to have a bunch of legit wrestlers, we're going to have great bouts. And then second one, we're going to ramp up viewership once we kind of establish a product? I don't know all the thought process that went into that, but I think there are legit questions there that kind of what Robbie's saying, like, hey, you guys want all these world medalists and, accoladed wrestlers. And then you got these guys that are more on the creator side again, which isn't a bad thing. It just doesn't seem to fit kind of what they were pushing out from the beginning.
Now, on the flip side of that, let me remind you that they were considering a fucking tag team match. So
I'll take this.
They probably
this?
still are. They probably still are. Yeah. I wish that I could get some sort of like thought on the matchups, or at least this one specifically, or of like some of the other ideas, but Willie doesn't pick up his phone, so there's that as well. Claunch, your thoughts on this bout?
Yeah, one of the things I mean, what was it, about 6 weeks split between the first one and this one? It's like maybe make it 8 weeks if you need a little bit more time to get some better matches. And hey,
they were saying they want to do one a month, and that seems to be a lot with the roster they have at the moment.
Right. And who knows? This match could be fun. I'm not gonna, trash it or whatever. They're gonna go out there and they're gonna compete and they're gonna try to win. And I mean, shit, I'm the same guy who's been advocating for media people to wrestle against each other at an event for years, and like nobody wants to watch that shit, you know. So, but it could be fun if you get engagement, you get the viewers that you're looking for, you get, you know, Fox Nation subscribers to actually pay. I did the 7-day free trial the first time, and I'm gonna find a new email address to try and do that again, I think. But
The
like,
American way.
is this match worse than watching Lance Palmer wrestle? Probably not, right? Like this, there could be some benefits here. Although, you know, at the same time, it's like, just don't make these like, you know, social media ones all the time, right? We don't need one per card. We don't need that sort of thing. But like, you know, I was thinking about it too. I was like, man, we almost had like Seth Gross versus like Mikhail McGee. Like that would have been a sweet match. I would like to see that one more than this one. They seemed like they were there and ready. And you know, you're gonna have people bow out of things, so it's good to have some of these matches. And if promoting this match instead of having it be like a backup one or something like that, like is helpful to their overall cause, by all means, you know. Hopefully it works. Otherwise, you know, just keep getting good wrestlers.
And that's the other thing I'm worried about too is obviously these guys have a big following, but who are most of their followers? Are they teenagers that are going to buy a Fox Nation subscription? Or are they adults like us that have a little more freedom, you know, to do that? I'm going to say
Right.
it's probably younger kids that are going to need permission to go on their parents' accounts and order a Fox Nation thing, and their kids are like, "What are you watching Fox Nation?" You know, a whole different argument there. But yeah, is it worth it? It might be. You know, it's worth a shot. It's might be one of those things they might regret not doing if they don't do it. Also, too. So I don't know.
One
feel
thing
like
I saw, I'd never seen an advertisement for a show on Fox Nation until recently, and it was like 50 Cent solving murders. Like, is
Well, I'm in.
legitimately a show. Yeah,
I
dude.
saw that. Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'm gonna watch some more stuff in the 7
Is it
days.
just him, or does he have the whole G unit?
I don't think it got like Lloyd Banks and everyone, but 50 Cent solves murders. Hold on.
50 ways to
Well,
solve a
shit, I
murder. Or
may
something.
actually
Yeah.
subscribe now for this. This is the
Yeah,
content I'm looking for.
50
be a
ways
little
to catch a
something.
killer.
Yeah, he
That's
was like in a
exciting.
suit and like all looked all buttoned up, I think. It's like this is a different 50 Cent than what we're used to.
Now,
Yeah.
peak 50
Yeah.
Cent was challenging Floyd Mayweather to read
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss.
How
That
he
is the
probably,
greatest thing ever.
yeah. That was he's the ultimate troll. He's
Mhm.
actually in what are they doing? They're doing a Street Fighter movie and he's in it. 50 Cent is in
Oh
it.
Oh,
wow.
So
really?
you
Nice.
got to look up he lost like a ton of weight to be in the movie too. You got to look it up. It's like there's like a video of him working out and he looks completely different. I forget which character he's playing, but for this, like, again, like we said a million times, we're not shitting on who's wrestling. It's more so the premise of like, are we trying to have a legitimate league where our pros can make money and have some sort of other sustainable wrestling future instead of, you know, the club life that they have to just train and then they go overseas and they do this. It's like, are we trying to do that? I think honestly that the following that these guys had would probably have been better suited to pay them to promote RAF and to put the matches out and to create content around these matches, right? Like that's where I think the money would have been better spent instead of people saying, well, oh, I want to see that kid wrestle. I don't think that for the most part, I think people want to watch his videos, either one of their videos, because they create good content, not because they are great wrestlers, right? And again, not shitting on the wrestling prowess of either one of them, but they have built up a very good following, a great following. Jimison, I believe, has damn near 900,000 followers on just Instagram alone. So, like, they have built up this following. I think that the money would have been, and I know I probably sound like Nomad right now, but I feel like the money would have been better spent for them to be promoting it instead of wrestling in it. And that's just what my thought was upon seeing what this matchup was, right? Just like we'll certainly see how it pans out, but I honestly hope that in the future they're promoting these matches and not participating in them myself, honestly. Now the rest of the card got some thoughts, and I know Claunch already talked about guys backing out. And speaking of guys backing out, Kyle Snyder already out of his matchup with Mason Paris. So
Must
the
have hurt himself on the flight home.
maybe
Visit in Budapest.
maybe but he's no longer wrestling Mason Paris, and it's a match I wanted to see, honestly. A match I want to see Kyle Snyder in is him versus Hayden Hidley, to be completely honest. I feel like that would be
Trent or Hayden? Both.
Hayden. Yeah,
Tag
sorry.
team. Tag team.
Versus,
There we go.
Yeah, there's your tag team. Versus Trent Hidley. We talked about Hayden so much, I kept saying Hayden versus Trent Hidley. Mostly because it could happen when the Olympic year comes around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't know if Trent is going up or down yet. We have no idea. And
Trent's got way better hair though.
well, yeah, but you know, it happens. Kyle's also older, so he looks like us. In terms of being bald, I should say. Yeah, as Austin runs his fingers through his hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Still got it.
Must
Some
be
grays
nice.
here, but I still got it.
Fuck you,
We'll see-
Austin.
Yeah, right. But I wanted to see the Mason Paris match, but I think that Trent Hidley versus Kyle Snyder would have been awesome. It'd be an awesome match to make. Who knows? Maybe that's why they pulled Kyle Snyder out of this one and they put him up against Trent. I don't know. Who knows? Or he's training for that thing that what's his face is making in, what is that, Abu Dhabi? The match that
Oh yeah,
tournament
Khabib's making.
that
Yeah,
Khabib's
Khabib, yeah.
Khabib's making
That
that
is
tournament
interesting.
in Abu Dhabi. We'll
Vito
definitely-
He's on
was
the
supposed to be
he's
that
on the
too.
list, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vito
And-
was too.
Khabib said he is confirmed. So we'll certainly see. But what other matches are you guys? I guess, I mean, there's only like a couple of them that are out right now. For me, the best one is Tomasello RBY. I don't see anybody being able to keep up with Helen. Doesn't matter who you get in there. You can, tape a rocket to somebody's back and allow them to try and blast double Helen. I don't see it happening. I've watched
the shit out of him.
right. Like I've seen the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote way too much. I know that the rockets don't exist against the impenetrable forces. But the match that I scratched my head, it was like Jake Varner coming out of retirement to wrestle Pat Downey. Sure.
I'm so pumped for that.
Sure.
I'll watch it.
I guess so. Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Go ahead, Claunch. Fire away. What's your thoughts on Jake Varner coming out of retirement?
I mean, I've thought about this a little bit recently. It's like, man, he is pretty old now. He won an Olympic medal or gold in 2012. Like, that is a while back. I imagine he's still in excellent shape, and he's obviously been wrestling with over a decade of excellent Penn State wrestlers coming in and out of that room, as well as the heavyweights over the last several years. All of which I think would beat the shit out of Pat Downey. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see, even the old man version of him go out there and, hit over tie ankle picks and just do the Jake Varner stuff, man. He used to do this thing, which I saw Nick Simmons do a lot too, but basically just like a head pinch thing where from top, when he'd get on top and he'd just go under the arm and over the head and then just roll his giant body over top. I want to see that happen. I mean, and Pat Downey usually does show up and is, at least the last couple times, been more impressive than I've thought. I don't think he's taking this seriously. He's going to get his ass kicked. I'm very excited for this. Jake Varner had his own wrestling shoe. Shout out Adidas QP 25. Yeah. Pat Downey. I don't know. I couldn't think of a shoe joke fast enough, but like, he sucks. How about that? Is that a good joke?
I had the pleasure of hanging out with Daniel Cormier when I was at Elite Eight. Not a name drop. I'm only saying it because that's a person that I would like to see Jake Varner wrestle, is Daniel Cormier. I think that would be a fantastic match to see those guys go at it. That would be cool for me.
It is crazy to look back on Cormier's college matches and see how much weight he was cutting. That
Yeah, it's
boy was
ridiculous.
sucked out.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
You see that clip of him launching Andy Rovat?
Oh yeah.
I think it was like NCAA quarterfinals or something, and they get into a situation and he just absolutely tosses him.
Maybe that's what happened to Robat.
Maybe.
Maybe that's where it all went wrong.
Maybe that's where it all went wrong and get tossed. Cormier's a large individual. Like talking to him, I'm like, this is a large dude. But no, I'd like to see that happen. Any other thoughts on the RAF matches that are out right now? Or can we move on to our final question? You want to move to the final question?
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see Pat Downey actually take it seriously. And the year we had with Pat Downey, like in check and controlled and in a good training environment, dude's a fucking freak of nature. Like he's an athlete. And like if you could channel that athleticism and that ability and like actually focus it, you could be pretty incredible. But there's so many other things going on that we don't get to see that.
That was the most impressive thing that Reese Humphrey has ever done, was kind of rein that dude in for like 12 months. Like that was, yeah.
When he was in Jersey and he was at least on the right path for a while, he was pretty dangerous. He was. Well, let's close up the show, and we haven't done one of these in a while. We've just done a really fun question, and I think I know I got lazy in trying to think of these fun things, and we weren't coming up with a lot of stuff. But shout out to Austin for this one, and if you guys missed the tweet that Austin put out, it was the picture of the game day sign about, what was it? How tough can Oregon be if they don't have wrestling? Right? Was that the sign? What the sign said, I believe.
And that went. I didn't think that was going to go viral. It reached a lot, and everyone.
Yeah.
I had all these Oregon football fans chirping at me. Oh, we beat your ass. You guys suck. And I just want to be like, guys, I'm not a Penn State fan by any means. I just thought it was a cool sign. This is all it was. Don't dig into it.
I talk about wrestling for a living. I cover wrestling, so that's why it was cool.
Yeah.
But that's funny. That's funny. Oregon, you have all the money in the world and no national championships for your football team. So there's that. But it was a great question. It's a great question that we have. So we're gonna pick a school to revive wrestling, and we're gonna choose a coach for them as well. So Austin, since this was your question, I'm gonna let you go first. What school would you revive wrestling for, and who would be their coach?
Not super flashy for the. I'll say I had two schools. Because Ivy League has 8 schools in it, only 6 wrestling programs. So I'm going to fill out the final 2 with Dartmouth and Yale. Dartmouth, I was leaning Sean Gray. Just a lot of years up at Princeton, leading kind of the Ivy League recruiting there and how all that works. And then Yale, I was thinking someone like a Zach Ray would be a good fit for that. Just kind of not the head guy yet, getting his feet wet, but really, really good at what he does, really good at recruiting, really good at pitching the program, and still in the younger side where he can kind of take over a program and run with it. So those were my kind of 2. Again, not super flashy, not super exciting, but those were my 2 there.
Nice. Claunch, on to you.
I had a couple as well. One obvious one, I think, is bring back LSU and have Kevin Jackson be the head coach. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. One that is near to my where I grew up, Eastern Michigan University. Just give David his job back. Just send David Bolliard back to Ypsilanti, where he can continue doing what he was doing in the first place, which was building them into a pretty damn good team. Oregon, I did pick as well, and I went with Joey Dance just because he had such really good Super Ducks, and they're the Ducks. So
that's fair.
I thought that worked, and Joey Dance has done a good job coaching over the years and moving around to some different programs. And the last one I had here, I remember seeing, I think it was Rebecca Roper had posted like an uncle of hers or somebody that had wrestled at Georgia Tech, and they had these cool Georgia Tech like robes. And I was like, well, that's awesome. And I like Georgia Tech's colors. And so let's put Lee Roper as the head coach there. Makes sense.
Like that.
Yeah. Robbie, on to you.
So this is going to be the Jason Bryant special. Old Dominion. And we have a bevy of potential head coaches who were at one time connected with the college, either coaching there or wrestled there. John Cerritos would be great. Got the mullet man at Northwestern making his return with Storniolo would be a good one. Daryl Thomas coming back, that would be good. Lots of options there. We could get Steve back there being grumpy and waddling around. That was always fun to watch. But with the amount of talent there is in Virginia Beach, and with the fact that we have 2 or 3 giant national tournaments there every year, like there should be a team there. It was a bullshit reason to cut the team, and it never should have happened. Would love to see them bring it back.
I was
And
going
then
to
my
say, would
other
Jason
answer,
Bryant even want it back? Does he still hate the school that much?
he still hates the school,
He
but
still
he
hates
should have a
them.
program.
Yeah, he would say,
Yeah.
screw you, we don't want it back. I'm not
Mhm.
sure.
That's fair.
We're going to go to New Dominion.
Sorry, Rob.
The other one is University of Alabama, and give Sam Latona his first head coaching job.
There you go.
I like
That
Alabama.
would be pretty cool. Yeah, I like it. I like it. So I'm gonna go the HBCU route, mostly because I like all the work the HBCU wrestling is doing, and 2, because my dad went to this HBCU. He did not finish school, but he was there and he played football there, and then he wrestled there the next year. And this is North Carolina A&T. So my dad was there, like I said, I believe for a year or 2 before moving back home and starting to work for the family. But North Carolina A&T is a school that I was fortunate enough to go see when I was in North Carolina. I believe for Super 32, the one year I took our car and drove over to see the campus and everything else. I wanted to see where my dad went to school. Obviously, very different school now, but the coach I would pick for that is Jordan Burroughs. I think it'd be really cool to have that. Now, a mainstream school, and I'm going to lead right into it, is I would love to see Florida State have a wrestling team. They do have, so there's a coach in Florida, because there is a club that is Florida A&M. So yeah, what is it? Florida State, and FAMU. They all wrestle in like the same facility. And they represent those 3 different schools. And I was fortunate enough to meet the coach at Club Duels. I mean, I want to say this was like 10 years ago at this point. It was a very long time ago. So shout out to them. Coach Simmons is that coach. But I'd love to see Florida State have a team. And for me, I would like to pull a Florida guy out of high school right now. And he's been coaching at what is that, Lake Highland Prep. And I would love to see damn, now his name just completely is escaped my mind. Damn, now I gotta look him up completely. Palazzo, yes. Bad podcasting by me. So yes, I would love to see Coach Palazzo leave Lake Highland Prep and move on to Florida State, mostly because they had really cool gear, and I think it would be awesome to have a college Division I wrestling team in Florida for a change. But yeah, my heart is at North Carolina A&T, where my dad went. Would love to see Jordan Burroughs revive that team and do some really cool things, as we're seeing happen at Morgan State. And I think Delaware State also announced that they're going to be bringing a wrestling program back as well too. But yeah, cool question. Love the innovation by Austin, even though he was bogged down by Oregon fans, at least Oregon football fans in that sense. And but they deserve the hate, considering that they had an All-American and then pulled the program right out from underneath them. So pretty shitty by them. But gentlemen, that is everything that we had on the list to discuss. You guys get any parting words for any of the fans?
Say leave a comment on what school you would revive. I'm sure obviously we missed a ton. We're probably gonna get hate in the comments for, oh, idiot, how'd you not think of this school? Like, guys, we're just shooting off from the hip here, all right? So relax.
Yeah, I completely forgot somebody who I've interviewed 19 times, right? Because I haven't talked to him in probably 5 years. So, yeah, definitely leave those comments, whether they're good or bad. I know for a fact that our first topic about Vito will have Cornell Kevin in the comments, if not in the DMs, to be completely honest. And if we don't see at least one comment from him, maybe he's got the stomach flu that Claunch has, and he's on hiatus for a little bit. But if I don't see a comment from that man, I'll be highly disappointed. But yeah, gentlemen, always fun. Claunch, hopefully you get over this stomach bug, and we didn't make you sit there too long with the bubble guts and
Nope. I thought about that. We're good though. We're good.
But yeah, another fun
I'm actually
episode.
sitting on a toilet right now.
Yeah,
It's like that
Claunch is
South Park episode where they're playing.
actually on the shitter. This is episode 20, aka Shitters Full. Another movie reference for everyone. But yeah, make fun of us, whatever you really want. We don't really care. Just make sure you come correct, because you're an idiot if you don't. But yeah, shout out to our sponsors, Poseidon Strength. Shout out to all the different schools that have now, I believe, started to get Poseidon Strength. I saw West Virginia just got their install the other day. I know that George Mason also got theirs, or at least will be getting theirs. I know Penn State also has one. That had nothing to do with us. That happened before we were even partnering with them. But I know Penn State has one. We'll have some.
I would like to
content.
take credit for everything that Penn State has done in the last 15 years.
Yes, there you go. There you go.
We did it, guys.
We finally did it. And then
built a
WCAP also picking up some Poseidon Strength equipment as well. So hopefully, if you're a wrestling program, you're reaching out to them, because they're starting to put their equipment in some really awesome Division I wrestling rooms. So shout out to all those different coaches. Beasley, I'm glad that you were able to grab one. It was cool to see Beasley at Elite 8 as well. He was eating a salad, or else I would have asked him for an interview. But and then I just completely lost track of him. I think he snuck out the back a little bit. But yeah, shout out to Poseidon Strength. Shout out to Adidas Wrestling. Thanks for all the support that you guys give us. We're looking forward to a really great wrestling season with our sponsors. I know we've said a number of times we're going to be doing a shoe giveaway. We promise it is coming. It's just we're waiting for the season to come around to do that shoe giveaway. But leave your comments. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if you're going to clip the show and put it out, tag us, because we'll love to jump into some of these conversations. But that is it for episode 20. We will see you guys again next time, being next week. Peace.